is going to come and recite Quran. And then he's going to recite in Arabic, and then we're going to have the translation in English. So maybe in about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to say this now, because if I start saying it later, I'll go too long. Oh, we have one of our great brothers, Rahmatullah alayhi. He hasn't died, but he's in, we know he's in, he had some say he had a stroke, some say he had a heart attack. And he's at Hyden Hospital now on support system. Mustafa Abdullah. Many of us know him. He was one of our teachers, one of our great leaders inside and also outside. We prayed Fajr every morning here. He lived right around the corner. Before he got married, and his wife had 4th stage cancer. So he took on the responsibility of being her caretaker in that situation. So he ended up having his medical emergency a couple of weeks ago. He's in that space. We're not going to, what we're going to do, at another time, we're going to have a gathering, hopefully this big or bigger, and we're going to ask you, you can just put dollars and stuff in these buckets, and coins, whatever, as much as you can. But on that, we're going to ask you to bring your checkbooks. Because even if he survives, he's going to need a support. And if he doesn't survive, and only Allah knows, you need what you need to. Allah gives life and Allah gives death. They can disconnect all that stuff and he can outlive us. Or they can disconnect it, he can die like that. Allah knows best. We all going there. So we're sad, we're going to cry, but if we remember the kind of work that this man did, many of you may not know, brothers, who, if you didn't come through the history at Salama, our Imam Muhammad Sharif inspired the brothers to challenge where we can challenge, intelligently challenge the system. And after they fired him, we knew it wasn't going to be long. Because on certain things, he was inflexible. So they fired him, but the brothers were inspired to sue the system. And one of the greatest issues in that suit, it was called Mayweather versus, what was it, last name? Was it Brown?
De La Hoya.
No. As Imam Sudiata, he's a great man, but he's also the great stand-up comedy. If you didn't know that, you go to the Lighthouse and you go find. We might have this event at the Lighthouse, but they get a bigger audience and they got people with longer paper up there over there. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to have this up, especially for Mustafa. And we're going to ask people, don't come if you ain't got a checkbook or some money in your pocket. No, come. But this law, so at one time, you could not go to Islamic service if you had a school assignment or a work assignment. If you went to have Islamic service, you would leave, you would lose the you would get an A day. A day means you was absent. That means you had to stay in prison longer. Every time you went, you had to stay in prison longer. So that lawsuit that was inspired by our noble brother, who's in, he's still working beyond America, but it was inspired by him, no doubt about it. And Carluke Mayweather, he was the legal mind, right? And there was a group of about, I think, 5 or 6 signers on that lawsuit. And They prevailed on the issue of us going to Juma. Because it's blatantly unfair. If we went to Juma, the other people who have service on Friday, on Saturday and Sunday didn't have that word. Our service is always on a work day or school day.
Talk beer. Talk beer. Talk beer.
So most of us spend more time in prison just by going to Juma. But then we were blessed, and so how Allah worked, we were blessed with some legal people who were dedicated, and they saw the unfairness with them. And one of our main supporters at the University of California, Davis, was Susan Christian. Allah always gives us a sign. And so we got a temporary injunction when they filed that suit. And it took us about another 4 or 5 years to prevail all the way on that issue. There were other issues. We were able to wear our kufis, right? Yeah, we were able to, they had restricted where we couldn't wear a beard. We couldn't get prayer rugs. And what was the other issue?
Halal.
And halal food. We couldn't have halal food. And that lawsuit helped us to crack that concrete ceiling they had. And not only for us, after we prevailed, it applied to all the prisons in California. Even though we still had to fight them to make them do it. It was on the books for us. Before, it wasn't on the books, and they can punish us anytime. You got a kufi on, take it. They let people wear baseball hats. We wear kufi, they said you got to take that. So if you didn't know that, brothers, so Mustafa, our brother, he was on the ground for that, and he kept it going even when Carluke went to the prison. Because they kept putting Carluke in. I left him in the hole. I don't know if he ever got out so we want to salute him too. So that is something that we can't forget. We shouldn't forget. So we're going to have something to help our brother Mustafa. Look out for the announcement for it. We're not going to do it today, but we will. So I think we're going to start our brother, Muhammad Abdul Rahim.
I'm going to recite Surah Baqarah, ayat 77, right? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولا يعلمون أن الله يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلمون ومنهم أميون لا يعلمون الكتاب إلا أماني وإنهم إلا يظنون فويل للذين يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون بلى من كسبت سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم معرضون. الله.
So the translation is, know they not that Allah knoweth what they conceal and what they reveal? And there are among them illiterates who know not the book, but see therein their own desires, and they do nothing but conjecture. Then woe to those who write the book with their own hands and then say, this is from Allah, to traffic with it for a miserable price. Woe for them for what their hands do right and for the gain they make thereby. And they say, the fire should not touch us, but for a few numbered days. Say, have ye not taken a promise from Allah, and for he never breaks his promise? Or is it that ye say of Allah what ye do not know? Nay, those who seek gain in evil and are burnt round by their sins, they are companions of the fire. Therein shall they abide forever. But those who have faith and work righteousness, they are companions of the garden, therein shall abide forever. To 82, 83. Last one. And remember, we took a covenant from the children of Israel to this effect. Worship none but Allah. Treat with kindness your parents and kindred and orphans and those in need. Speak fair to the people. Be steadfast in prayer and give zakat. Then did ye turn back, except a few among you, and ye backslide even now. So the Lord with thee.
Hatem Sharif graduated from Blair Muhammad Elementary School and Secondary School. He attended Los Angeles City College. He's certified in psychology, counseling, and domestic violence, and presently is a board member for CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, and he's the Director of Security in the Los Angeles area. So, to bring our brother, Hatem Sharif.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأستغفر لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله نستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به عز وجل. It is an honor and a blessing, first of all, to be here. It is a second honor and a blessing to be here at a masjid, a community that I consider my own. Further in the talk, which I will make sure I do not extend the time that he graciously gave me, you will understand more. Recommit to the Deen ul-Fitra that received us from hell. I'd like to say and personalize that. Recommit to the Deen ul-Fitra that saved me from hell. So, very briefly, I'd like to describe my journey. This is something I had to do for myself in order for Islam to digest inside of me. I had to go back and I asked myself a question. How did you wind up in here? How did you wind up in this circumstance? And I say that because I'm a second generation Muslim. Many in this room know my parents in the Islamic community in Los Angeles, my mother and my father. And so I grew up in an Islamic household. As the Imam just shared, I went to Sister Claire Muhammad's elementary and secondary from the 3rd grade to graduation. And so, after my father and mother separated, the discipline, this is my interpretation, the discipline left the home. And any of you that were here yesterday when Imam Fahim Shuaib did the khutbah on marriage, he referenced that when in marriage, that marriage is a manufacturing of manhood. And so when he said that yesterday, that resonated with me, and I was first row. You know, we understand the significance of the first row, right? So forth and so on. But when he said that, that resonated and reminded me of the question of the deliberate frame of thinking that I saw, because I asked myself, how did I get here, where my parents separated. My father left the home, me and my brother stayed with my mother. And so the discipline left the home, and it was my responsibility. Because when I say the discipline left the home, I don't want to give the impression that because he left the home, what I did 9 years in the streets in the muck and mud was my father's fault. That was my fault. But what I want to make, and I look, Imam Abu Qadir al-Amin is sitting here. He went to Hajj with my father several times. This is his sharing with me. So he was the foundational substance in my home Islamically. He actually brought my mother into the fold. So 9 years in the streets, and many of us are familiar with that. I was committed. Oh yeah. I was committed in the streets because I was cut from a cloth the way I was raised, that whatever you put your interest in, you put your all into. Unfortunately, yet fortunately later, that commitment changed. But it didn't change. It didn't change soon enough for me not to get that time. As a matter of fact, I got shot by a store owner. And I want to share these things because one of the things I always get when I come to Masjidul Waritheen in this community, I get honesty. And I'm a firm believer that Allah is pleased and happy with honesty. When we're honest with ourselves and when we're honest with each other. So that's what I'd like to be with you now. And I stand here today as a shaheed, as a witness, and as a reminder. That's all I'm going to stand here and do. I'm not here to teach, inshallah, inspire, but I'm only here as a witness and a reminder. And I thank Allah that Imam Raouf saw fit to invite me. I thank Allah for so many things, but I want to go down before my grandson gives me the cue. We come from a long line of those who, when we start talking, especially when you feel like something is beneficial, or not feel, but you know that something is beneficial because it's translating successfully in your life, you want to share that. But we also have to know that this community life is a fabric of many different flavors and personalities and all these connected parts form one. So in 2000, because I started off in level 4 for 5 years. And again, I wound up doing 20 years. Or should I say I wound up my little 20 years. Now for many who have never done time or been in the household with somebody who has, you may wonder why I said it's little. Well, because when I showed up at Solano in 2000, I began to interact and to get to know Muslims that were there who had been in already half of the time that I had to do. And they were there striving, and they were there committed. And so when I say my little 20, I look at brothers like who is the Muezzin at our Masjid, alhamdulillah, at Bilal ibn Rabah. Raise your hand. Hakeem, he did 37. I'll go to our brother, and we continue to make dua for his release and his well-being, Mujahid, Larry Green. I was on the line with him. Brother Askia right here. We were on the line. There's many people in this room, and I told Abdul Raouf, if I get up there, I'm only going to be a reflection of who motivated me to be here today. Imam Hassan was on the same line that I was at. I can go around the room and if I don't call your name, you know it wasn't intentional. So when I showed up in 2000 and I asked, well, let me back up. When I was in level 4, I avoided going to talk to the Imam there. Many of you are familiar with Imam Akil Alameen. He's from San Diego. He was the resident imam at that time in Corporate. And so, fortunately for me, and as it was Allah's will, my ID said Hatim Sharif. So back in the days of shenanigans, right? A friend of mine who was in the, in the lane of shenanigans with me, he found out that you can get ID and driver's license, not just with a birth certificate, but all you need, you can use a baptism certificate. Now this was in Los Angeles at the time. Now, remember, I'm 17 years old. I go to the DMV with this crafted, made up baptism certificate to make my age 6 years older than what I was. Now remember, I'm 17. I graduated from Claire Muhammad when I was 17, 1978. Went to LA City College. And shortly after my parents split. In my mind at that time, do you think you see yourself going to prison? But Allah knows and we know not. So when I got to prison, I told the staff that my name was Damian McCullough. He said, okay. Are you sure? I said, that's my name. He said, well, that's not what we have. We have Hatim Sharif. And that was the beginning of my consciousness. So at that point, there was brothers on the line when I got there. And the brother said, your name's Sharif? Yes, sir. You Muslim? Now remember, I have not even considered getting back with my moral, put my moral suit on. Mentally or physically. I was still in the mindset of that 9 years that I was dealing with. And not only that, when I showed up with 42 years, I had never done more than 13 months. And so that was devastating to me. And so I was going through the process like many of you brothers had to go through, where you process the reality of your circumstances. Some of us process it quicker than others. But the process hasn't settled in with me at that time. And so a brother came to me who was the Amir on the yard, and he said, if your name is Sharif, he said, why ain't you coming to join? And I said, man, listen, brother, I can't commit to nothing that I haven't. He said, well, you know X, Y, and Z. So we had a conversation. We kept having conversations. And eventually I went and sat with Imam Alameen. That was the beginning, and when I told him who my parents was, which he knew, then you know he began to filter and serve me with the reality of my upbringing, which established my faith. It helped establish my iman. So as everything took place, from that point I stayed in corporate in level 4 from 95 to 2000. So I went through a small transition there. And when I got to Solano in the year 2000, in 2001, I turned 40 years old. Many of you who understand spiritual language understand these concepts about turning 40 or thereafter. And when I found out, I said, who is the imam here? And he said, Sheikh Abdul. I said, Sheikh? I'm going to be honest with you, Sheikh. Sheikh. Talking about, man. And they took me over there and introduced me to him. Excuse me, Chuck, you can get the napkin. And when we met, the first thing he said was, where are you from, huh? I told him Los Angeles. He said, Los Angeles, how long have you been a Muslim? I said, all my life. Now, what did I say that for? What did I say that for? So he said, really? So you know, brother, sister, imam, this Imam Hassan, he started giving names. I said, Imam Hassan taught me how to swim. I grew up with Imam Hassan. Now, these questions caused me to expose my responsibilities. Right? And so we began to talk more and more. And I got comfortable. And so the comfort level extended from Imam Raouf to the yard. And once he shared with them my upbringing, then what was shared was, here's a brother who grew up as a Muslim. Now before I go any further, I'm going to say this. For me, I give more credit. This is me personally. It's not Quran, Sunnah. I can't turn a page and tell you this and show and prove this to you. This is me. I give more credit to brothers who have never had Islam that took their Shahada and became Muslim than those like myself who were the smaller percentages in prison and still are, who grew up Islam. And one of the reasons I do that is because you're kind of like feeling yourself through, and I don't use this term, but I'm going to use it. Feeling yourself through the dark, in the sense of the credibility of things that are concrete, because you haven't been around examples who have exemplified what it is in which you say you're coming into. So alhamdulillah, I had that. So what I do say is that in connection to the masjid here, Imam Raouf, who is now my sheikh, who is now my sheikh, and until Allah calls me, he's the only one that I will consider that as of now. Because he's from all upbringing. He's from all circumstances. And if you know him, you know his disposition, the best that he can is an example of Muhammad and our circumstance. I'm also in connecting with Imam Raouf, Imam Shuaib, in the sense of many of you in here, the translation and the support of Imam Waritheen Muhammad. May Allah forgive him for his sins and grant him paradise. So I will forever be a student of his. And so, yes sir, you'll get the hook. Get the hook, so keep it going. So, I want to point this out before we go further. That the volunteers at that time helped influence me. They helped bring credibility to what I knew and enhance what I wanted to know Islamically. Imam Abu Qadir al-Amin would come there consistently. Imam Abdul Malik would come there consistently. Many of you know him. I call it Imam Qasim Ahmed, may Allah forgive him for his sins and grant him paradise. He would come there consistently. Right? These are spirits and minds that, especially Abu Qadir al-Amin, because he comes from that circumstance. So he was an example for us. Right? When we talk about examples in Islam, we have an example. So Allah knew that when he created the human being, we needed an example. So I say to the community in Los Angeles, and I say to you here, if we consider Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam our example, then know that when you sign up to be a Muslim, you are now considered an example for the world. Brothers and sisters, Imam Yahya Abdullah, he did a discourse where he talked about when it comes to Prophet Muhammad's characteristics, they're genderless. And I get the sisters down there, they say, Brother Imam, a lot of times when you read the Quran or you reference it, then you don't talk about the man. So I'm reminded, the women and the men. Concrete proof, what is the most reliable hadith? Who is that by? A brother or a sister? Talk to me. This ain't June. I got confirmation to talk to you today. Isha. Right? Alhamdulillah. So, again, I'm just here as a reminder. I want to just point out some points. And I'm going to step out the way for the esteemed guests that are after me. When I began to study, this is after I put on my, after I accepted that I needed to get back to the form and the foundation from which I was raised, I began to study Imam A.K. Hassan, Imam Fahim Shuwayd, Imam Qasim Ahmed, and Hamza Yusuf. Those were the four that I studied. And many of you here, some won't understand this, but I have to say it. I studied them through a cassette tapes. Again, cassette tapes. So I'm referencing to your son, and he's accurate. We got to catch up with it. We got to catch up with the technology. However, the majority of this room know you don't have choices about what you can get in there. You know, one of the things I mentioned about incarceration that I share with those, that the first thing they take, you think they take your freedom, right? They take your freedom, and then they take your space, and then they limit and take your ability to choose what it is you can eat, right? And then from that, you realize what kind of circumstance you're in. So when I got to Solano, what I look at, that's when I got into oven. That's when I made a decision that Allah was going to be first. Prophet Muhammad was going to be the example for me. And at that point is when I stepped into the oven. I consider that 5 years at Solano in the oven. And I was on the line with brothers like that are still in Mujahid and other brothers. How much time did you do? Askia?
30 years.
30. But now see, in this room with us, 30 years, 20 years, because we got brothers that did, you know, my Yaqua 46. Other brothers did 40. But one of the motivations, he motivated me because at his age, he would run that track every single day that job was open. He'd have his gloves on. And I'm seeing this cat, and I'm wondering, man, this dude, and I ain't running the track, but man, sometimes once a week. Let alone, this dude is doing it every day. So I'm pointing to the motivation that we get from each other. So when we look at the Prophet's history, understand he had Sahabas. He had Sahabas. And those Sahabas were symbolic. Raise your hand, Alameen back there. He was one of the emirs. Now put it up, man. Don't be doing that. Put it all the way up so you know who you are. Alameen was on the line, and these brothers were very diligent and consistent. Okay, I'm not. Listen. Lastly, I'm going to end like this. I'm going to say, I'm going to end with this. I got to tell you, though. I got brought up in charges while I was in But the brother's not in here right now, but I'll be saying talk to him today. Now, normally when you say back in the nation, this time you get brought up with charges, or when you're inside the incarceration, what did I do, man? Right? But it was in a beautiful way. You know, we taught argue in the best of ways. Right? So when I get over to the Imam's office, Mujahid, Calvin Parker was sitting there. Many of you know him. He brought me up on charges because he said, man, this brother is born and raised a Muslim. And he don't do nothing but come to joke. I looked at this cat like, man, we just met. What are you talking about? So, but then I thank Allah because I had grown enough and recommitted myself to Islam, who I submitted. Because he brought me up on charges to say, you need to give the community more. Right. And in turn, it will give you more. And I submitted. And from that point, all the way to now, I thank Allah from where I am now. Lastly, I got this position, because I want to read this little piece that Imam Muhammad did on the cleansing of moral corruption. Lastly, I got this position. I talked to Imam Hassan, who we were on the line on the 4-yard in Solano, who's now a resident Imam in Sacramento. And I asked him, did he expect it? And he said, absolutely not, because I inherited it from a circumstance that's unfortunate. The Imam passed it. And as Allah will, I also inherited the position in the same way. I want to say to you, while we're in here, there's sisters in there working. The workers at the masjids, the imams at the masjids, the brother here, and I'm going to call him while I'm on the camera. His name was Brother Larry. What's your name?
It was Priya.
Khalid. I'm mentioning people. We wouldn't have these masjids in place to go to if it wasn't for their commitment. But say it again, them sisters that are in that kitchen, the imams and everything that filters down, let's keep that in mind. We have not masajid and masjids because of the corporate commitment of those that work here. Lastly, my wife. Raise your hand. I wouldn't, you know, this sister, I did 20 years and this sister did the first 2 and the last 14 and that was Imam Shuaib said something yesterday and he's like he was talking to me. Imam Shuaib said his wife treats him like he's a king. He treats him like he's the one. Lastly, he wouldn't reference, I'm going to reference with him. He said, she treats me like I'm a pimp. I said, we understand that, man. We gotta, you know what I'm saying? We got to understand that. We don't come from the community that we hit, you know, in angelical ways. You know, these little references that don't hit, we need to hit the mark. I said, speak the word straight to the point. Right? So we got to understand that. Lastly, I'm going to end it with the cleansing of moral production. I'm going to end this with the man Muhammad. When the scripture in Genesis said that it had not yet rained on the earth, it means that people had not yet been cleansed of their moral corruption. So God had to shine his light on them and draw their moral nature up in order to make his human being. But God is not satisfied with you being just morally right. You are still dead as a human mind, even though you are morally alive. Listen, even though you have the form of a person, God has to bring in a third element, the breath of life, to complete your makeup and to make you become a living soul. This life comes after your moral nature has turned to God and accepted him as the example for you to follow as a moral person.
We want to thank you, Brother Hati. We want to bring our sister up, Sister Daria. We want to say a brief word about her. You know, a lot of times we have these gatherings all over all the masjids where predominantly African American, where we returning in these situations. A lot of times we forget about the sisters who also were incarcerated, who also went through what we went through. And even more, because now they also have they have to protect themselves from even more so from the staff. The brothers have to do it too, but the sisters even on a greater degree. So they actually have had a harder road than we have had trying to get to sit in these seats out here. So we want to bring our sister up, and I'm going to read a brief She says, Daya Salahuddin. Salahuddin, huh? I mean, she could have called herself whatever. She wanted to take her husband's name, but she took it. So she says, Daya is the wife of Abdul Malik Salahuddin, was here, who was incarcerated for 38 years. So he already told you. He did 38 years, and she did 38 years. Y'all know that. So he was incarcerated for 38 years. Sister Dahlia has been the prison dawah service coordinator at Masjidul Waritheen since 2000. Almost a quarter century. And has also worked as instructors at
FCI.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it where it is. At Federal Correction, at the Federal Correction Institute for Women since 2000 also. Dahlia was the recipient of 2 awards from the AMCE, MACA in 2014 and 2018 for continued service in the prisons. Dahlia has been an instructor for the Shahadatain Institute since 1990. And we're having a new, right now, this is a sidebar, we're having a new Shahadatain Institute series that's going on now. You're not too late to get in there. And some information on the desk in the back for you, for your wife, for your friends, whoever you want to introduce Islam, for the people that just want to know about Islam. They don't have to be no Muslim. We have that information. So she is an instructor at that institute here. Dahlia was blessed to make Hajj with one of her daughters in 2001 and to make Umrah with her husband in 2019. I bring to you our sister. Here, I'll say this, don't make me happy.
Again, pardon.
Nice.
Okay, let me see my eyes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Say, I seek refuge with Allah against Satan the accursed. And that's to say, I bear witness that there's only one God, Allah, the creator of the heavens and earth and everything in between, and that Muhammad is his messenger, the last prophet, in fact, the seal of the prophets. Assalamu alaikum. And that is to say, may the peace that only God can give be with you. Okay. So, alhamdulillah for one. That means all praise is due to Allah for blessing us with this wonderful morning as we welcome you all, and especially the returning sisters and brothers. We welcome you all with love, care, and concern. You know, a believing Muslim wants the same good for others as he or she wants for themselves. This morning, the theme is Recommitting to the Deen of Scriptural that rescued us from hell. The theme is speaking on recommitting oneself to the way of life that Allah has prescribed in the Quran for us. Allah chose a man named Muhammad, to become the prophet, to deliver his message, and serve as a living example for all to follow, should we choose to do so. So our Muslim brothers and sisters, we have made that choice, but are we focused on the path to pleasing Allah? Let's take some inventory. Whether you recently were released or you've been out for a while, are you giving Allah the high five? You know, the 5 pillars of Islam. The first pillar, the Shahadatain. Do you still bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger? If your answer is yes, are you acting on that in which you bear witness to? Muhammad is the example for Muslims to emulate. Some of his values were that he was kind, trusting, forbearing, helpful, respectful, modest, and honest. Are you? The Salah. Are you performing your 5 daily prayers? Remember? If you remember Allah, He will remember you. And that's 2:152. So zakat. Do you give from what you have gained to help others in need? Or do you enjoin a righteous conduct on the people and forget to practice it yourself? Siyam, fasting. Are you fasting during the month of Ramadan? Are you reading God's words in the Quran? Is your faith getting stronger and stronger each year that you fast? You know, Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. 2:185. Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, the 5th pillar. Have you performed your Hajj or your Umrah? If not, have you stated your intentions to Allah? Remember, we are to complete the Hajj or the Umrah, and it's in service to Allah. And there are exceptions, as a lot of you already know. Surah 2196. So, as was stated in my intro, my husband was incarcerated for 38 years. We've been married for nearly 30 years. And he's been out for 10 years. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. And Allahu Akbar and Alhamdulillah to all of you guys that are still here too. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, that's an achievement. That's a good thing. So, but listen, why do I mention this? I mention this because I know those 5 pillars are achievable. My husband keeps a high five to Allah. He bears witness there is no God but Allah in his speech and actions. He has given the Juma Kupas on the many occasions and at different places, but mostly here. He has not missed performing any prayers since he's been home. Trust me and believe it. Because when he first came home, he was stopping and dropping. I'm like, look. No, we can wait till we get home. I can get this prayer in. Oh, we next to a tree. We here, we there. And I'm like, look now. We got some adjustments to do here. We do. But alhamdulillah, we passed that. Yes. And he and we pay zakat regularly. He has fasted every Ramadan and alhamdulillah was blessed. Alhamdulillah was blessed to make Umrah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Is he perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. And neither are you. Right? But all we can do is what Allah commands us to do, to the best of our ability, and strive to please Allah. There is also a sister that's been out for 20 years, and she hit the ground serving her Lord Allah, and has not stopped. And we love her. Sister Hamdia, where are you? Woo! My sister! We love you, and we are proud of you too. Alhamdulillah. You know, and I don't know what other sisters that may be here, but all of them got the message, and we have sisters that are really far away, so they can't make it. But we are in touch, you know, and brother's right. You know, when you think brother, think sister, because we go together, y'all, unless y'all playing something else. Right? Y'all want to be in that game. That transfusion. Okay. So now, Allah has blessed them because they stayed focused on their commitment to doing what Allah asks of us. Now, Allah has given us Prophet Muhammad as an example to follow. And he has made us as signs to one another to show what can be achieved if we rely on our faith and trust and belief in the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And see, this is what I love about when you get up to speak and you have people before you and behind you. This brother just said that. You know, and that's when you all know we on the same, you know, we're on the same path. Now, no one knows what day or the hour in which we will transition from this space and time. Therefore, we need to focus on our high five to Allah. We need to take a serious look at what contributions we've made. We need to question if they are pleasing to Allah. We are to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And after we finish one task, still labor hard. Surah 94, Ayah 7. Okay, now listen. Prophet Muhammad was in his 60s when he passed. He did not retire from serving Allah. Nobody gets off the hook. I'm here to tell you that. I guess that's why I'm here. Because it's not vacation time. You don't get off the hook. This is not the time. It's in the hereafter. You got to work. You got to get it done. That's why Allah released you. And some of you guys, you know, you remember, what was that, 630, the last battle that he fought, and he passed in 632, is that right? Yeah. So that says a lot, about what we can achieve and what we can do. And the prophet is the example. The prophet is the example. Not something that we just look up to, oh, he's beautiful, he's wonderful, look what he did. No, that's to show us what we can do. Alhamdulillah. Yes. So, we know that Allah is the knower of all things. He knows when the time of our passing is. But we should know, if we don't already know, is that we are here to prove to ourselves that we are either worthy or unworthy. Allah knows. He already knows. We're proving to ourselves. We're proving to ourselves. So we need to have the mirror in front of us. So now, Allah says this. When my servants ask thee concerning me, I am indeed close to them. I listen to the prayer of every caller when he calleth on me. Let them also, with a will, listen to my call and believe in me, that they may walk in the right way. Now, as was mentioned earlier, I've been the prison dialogue coordinator here at Masjidul Waritheen for 22 years, and it's been this community and the leadership of Imam Shuwaib that has made my service of any value to me. How many brothers and sisters just remember me from the Institute, remember PDS from the Institute going in? Stand up right quick, just stand up, you sit down, just stand up, just want to see. How many loud? Loud wake bar. Loud wake bar. Loud wake bar. Loud wake bar. It's so beautiful to see you guys here. Don't y'all feel good?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel good. I mean, it's wonderful. It's just alhamdulillah, so wonderful. And also, like I said, it's the leadership of this community. And when I say this community, it also extends to the community of Imam W.D. Muhammad. I don't have enough time, but I could say some stuff. Because it's a lot, it's really a lot to say. But I can't say it right now, so I'm going to just say what I wrote. So, and that is this, is that whether it was our attendance at the Eids or our having food catered in by the New Africa Kitchen, y'all taste that food today. Man, New Africa Kitchen, they just throwing it down, Or whether it was some of the Eids, whether it was donations or books and materials, or whether it was a donation of monetary funds, correspondence, and last but not least, whether it was a letter written to the board on your behalf for release. It was the support of this community. Y'all don't know. Yes, you do. Some of you guys know because you benefit from it. Some of you know. But this community is long lasting. I could call on them right now for support of the institutions. We just here, we're there, this is family. Y'all need to know that. Y'all really need to know that. I know that. Y'all need to know that. I've been here for a long time, and I know that it's family. And I came from not being in here, if you understand what I mean. Okay? A lot. See, a lot's God. Allah knows what to do, and He does it. So, okay. So I was saying more that it was the support of this community that made it possible, and I love them for it, and you should too. You should too. And as some of you know, this community has a rich history and is well endowed with Islamic knowledge. Many of the members are trailblazers and have experienced an evolution that many of us have not. Let me say that one more time. Many members are trailblazers and have experienced an evolution in this community that many of us have not. Some of us came in on the tail end and just rode right through. But they went through it and made it possible. It's all in Allah's plan. Trust me. Trust me. Yet many are benefiting from the struggle, and there is from the struggle of their and benefit from the struggle. May Allah be pleased. As believers in Almighty God Allah, we know nothing happens but by the will of Allah. And when you were held captive, and you prayed, and you prayed, and you prayed for relief, and just when you thought that you were destined to remain captive, Allah said, be, and it is. And you're here. and I know it, thought you'd never get out. And, you know, and there were people on the outside thought you'd never get out. Right? Am I lying? It's true stuff. Y'all know this. Y'all know this. Y'all know this. Y'all know this, and I know you don't. Allah is truly Akbar. You know? It's not when you just get a little thing. Allah is Akbar. So what is he saying? Allah, my Lord has let me out. You know what? Because he let you out to prove to yourself what it is you promised Allah. You know? And either we're going to fail or we're going to achieve. It's up to us. It's up to us. So, let's recommit to the guidance of Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. So, for the benefit of those that are here that do not know the Al-Fatiha recitation, it says, with the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to God, most gracious, most merciful, Master of the day of judgment. Thee do we serve, and thy aid do we seek, to guide us on the straight path, the path of those thou hast bestowed favors upon, and not those who have earned thine anger, nor those who have gone astray. Amen. And in closing, if there's anything that I said that was good and moved you or inspiring, it was from Allah. If I made any mistakes, it's from me. Assalamu alaikum.
So we're going to bring forward, he's the imam, of course. We've all been introduced to the situation that brought him into the leadership. He got out of prison, and he found the imam that he could support, and he's been supporting him until he returned to Allah, and then the community selected him to be the leader. So we want to bring him forward with that. Imam Ahmed Hassan.
Since you did it, I ain't gonna go to the steps either. Enough tip. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Ooh-wee. Them joints every Friday. I'll be nervous, but this is a different type of nervous. This is where it all began. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astabihi wa astaghfiruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa dahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one. I praise him, I seek his guidance and his assistance, and I beseech his mercy and his forgiveness. I bear witness that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one. He has no partners and no assistants. And I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, over 1400 years ago, is the seal of the prophets and his last slave, servant, and messenger.
Ameen.
Ameen. I had brought my kitab, I had brought my Quran, and I had prepared a khutbah for y'all. But one of the things that I don't want to see is me get up here and repeat some of the things that our dear brother and our dear sister already said, or say anything in contrast. What I have to say is in addition to it. And then I'm saying that because oftentimes we get in a room and this brother is an expert in finance, this sister is an expert in education, and this person is an expert in psychology. And each of them in their own field, what they have to say is the most important, and it trumps what the other has to say. And it shouldn't be like that. It should complement and be in addition to. So what I have to say is in addition to. And I'm glad Imam Sheikh Abdul Raouf said he told me to bring the books. He told me to do a lot of things, and I feel like a mercenary up in here, spiritual mercenary. So I want to start by saying that a lot of things that happened in my life as a Muslim. I went to school here. Sister Claire Muhammad. Many of you know my mother, Sister Talia Hassan. She's headed Youth Service Bureau, West Contra Costa County for, it seems like my entire life. Sister Hamdia, my brother, first Muslim in Richmond, California. My big brother right there. I want to say that, of course, I ended up in prison because I went Wallah Alim. When I was young, being Ahmad Hassan, they had this cartoon, and I remember that. And it took me a long time. I never thought of when I was young, but being taken out of public school, going to school here, name change, no more Oreo cookies, no more Wonder Bread. It was, Mom came home and cleaned, get all this out of here. Get it all out. It ain't gonna be none of that. But we were never, the chitlins and all that other stuff. No disrespect to anybody that was on. We never was into that. But it was just a culture change and a culture shock. They had this cartoon, if y'all remember, Bugs Bunny, and they had the little character Hassan. And Hassan had the sword. Did y'all ever correlate that? All Hassan said was Hassan chop. That's it. Hassan chop. So they were already discriminating and putting that. The psychological warfare had already started. This is the early 70s. And so the psychological warfare had already began. But for many of us, we had no idea. So I wasn't proud to be a Muslim. The beautiful thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everything that I tried to be other than a Muslim, I failed at. Everything else that I tried to be other than a Muslim, I failed miserably at it. That's the beautiful thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can remember going to prison and wanting to be this gangster from this trauma-impacted city called Richmond. And I want to commend, before I go any further, I want to commend my brother Abdul Rahim and Fahim and the other brother, 100 years, what is it, brother? 100 years enterprise? 100 years enterprise. They hit the ground running, and I salute you for that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and your brothers, all of our brothers, for coming out and not straying and not being attracted to all the things that Shaitan has put out here for us. And I say that because my journey has always been, I want to do this and I want to do that, and Allah says no. So I want to take you on a journey, and when you was up here, brother, like I've heard you speak and we've talked, but I really had to fight back the tears, and even just reflecting on what you were saying is a struggle for me. But I've always had, I remember being, and some of the things you said, like my journey started with Imam Akil El-Amin in court, and this is me finally Allah penetrating my heart and me recommitting to Islam in court. When I was in very similar situation, that's why it was so emotional for me. Because when I was in New Folsom, Brother Sabur, my ID is Ahmad Hassan. Ahmad Hassan H94609. Yeah, I can't forget that. I was given that, and I couldn't do nothing without that. I couldn't go on a visit. I couldn't go to the canteen. I couldn't do anything without H94609. It's forever imprinted on my brain, but not my heart. And so, and I want to say this too. And I know I'm doing like you already. And I said I'm not going to do like you already. I'm not going to be saying one last thing. But we're like it more than one way, more than I know. Discovering that. When I was on Folsom, I believe my aha moment was I was walking with some other brothers from Richmond, and we were telling war stories, talking about just things that I would never even repeat up here. And some brothers walked past me and they said, look at them little brothers over there bragging about how they destroyed their community. And so many of you from Richmond who know me, I thought I was somebody. You know, it was like a character out of a movie. I thought I was somebody. So I'm looking at this dude like, you don't know me. And now the conversation that I'm having with these individuals from Richmond, if it was a movie, they would have faded to the back. Now, I'm ear hustling in their conversation. I'm angry, but I'm ear hustling in their conversation. Say, yeah, they're probably talking about how they mistreated their women, how many people they shot, just over there glorifying that foolishness. And it hit me, and I was like, oh man, he's telling the truth. One of those same brothers slid the autobiography of Malcolm X under my door. I didn't have no TV, no Walkman or nothing. He said, brother, you need something to read? I was still mad at them. But I said, yeah, I took the book. And I read it. And from there, the brothers started getting me to go back to Juma. Imam Enrique Rashid was there at the time. And he knew my family. Knew my uncle. My uncle is a famous attorney, Charles Ogletree, my mother's brother. And so he was like, you know, what are you doing here? And everybody was like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I threw rocks at this place for a long time. I've been trying to get interest for a long time. That's what I'm doing here. Still stuck in this character. Fast forward to being in the presence of Imam Michael Salam. And let me say, from Abdul Raoul to you, brother, Imam Fahim Shaway, and it's important that I'm pointing this out because even though people they tell me I should remember you from a child, I remember you from coming behind those walls and speaking to us. It's real big. And even though I haven't done it myself, it's real big. I know Imam Abu Qadir El-Amin from coming behind those walls and not saying that I don't have time. It makes us feel so important for individuals of your stature to come behind those walls and talk to us and show that we mean something, that we aren't the damaged goods that people are trying to instill in us by giving us these numbers, these new identities, H94609. I'm on the yard, and so I'm back on my dean finally. The brothers in Corcoran, they got me back on my dean. I'm making my 5, and I get to Pleasant Valley. I'm on the basketball court. They're having a meeting in the chapel. What we call it? We call it the chapel. The chapel. You know how we do. We go to we thought we was in Mecca. The chapel. I'm on the basketball court, and one of the Muslim brothers came, and he said, Imam Michael Salam wants to talk to you. And I'm like, man, I'm dripping wet. Can I go shower? You know, he's like, no. He needs you to come right now. So I go to the chapel. People want to say Masjid. I go to the chapel, and Imam Michael Salam calls me in the office. He said, we haven't had a Majlis here, and we haven't had an Amir, we haven't had a Wazir, we haven't had any of these positions. So I've spoken with the brothers, and we came to an agreement that if I allow them to have the Majlis, it's only going to be on one condition. You can choose all the other positions, but I get to choose the Amir. I'm listening. I'm like, okay, so who did you choose? He said, Hassan, I would like for you to be the Amir. I was like, I am not the most knowledgeable brother on this yard. This is not going to go over well. And I was like, you sure? And he was like, I'm positive. He said, let me tell you this, brother, because I know what you think. He said, you have good leadership skills and you have good character. That's enough for me. That journey inspired me to study. It definitely wasn't what I wanted. I'm trying to go home. Being in the front lines of everything that Abdul Rauf spoke about, that the brother Hatim just spoke about, and even the sister Dahia spoke about the struggle, having to miss work because I want to go to June. I'm the Amir now. I can't cross that picket line, but I want to go home. These are the type of moments that build our faith. I have to trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has me. I got to get that right up too, though. I got to take that right up to the board with me. And for them, I'm still antisocial. Antisocial from their perspective, not what we're talking about, I don't speak to people. Anti-social meaning that I can't function in society. I don't know how to follow the rules. And I'm giving them a prime example of me not knowing how to follow the rules. You sitting in here, you won't shave your facial hair, and you think you just get to not go to work because you guys won't worship on Sunday like everybody else. Yeah. And so the board will rip you. The board will rip you, and that's a whole nother story. And I won't use up my time with talking about the board. I get to Solana, and I want to say this too. Leaving Imam Michael Salam and my brothers, it was like going away to college, but it was also like, and I had no idea what Solana was going to be like. I had no idea I was going to meet Imam Sheikh Abdul Rauf. Had no idea Atiqur Rahman was going to be waiting in the cuts. And I just had no idea. I had no idea it was going to be like Timbuktu. But I was very sad to leave Imam Michael Salam. He was like a father figure to me. And I still keep contact with him. I still keep in contact with all my imams because I need to on this journey. Forgive me.
Yeah, it's okay. Takbir.
But it helps me. It helps keep me focused. Helps keeps me grounded. So I get to Solano. And it's all type of knowledgeable brothers. I'm in here now. I'm being extolled, it's accolades, and showered. It's like, oh wow. But now it ain't even worse. Because I feel like I was deceptive. And so when the class was over, I explained to him what I just explained to you all, that the brother Sajjad had already shown me these particular ayats. And still, as far as I've gotten is learning the Harut. So he was like, I think you can do it. I want you to stay in the advanced class. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in my life. I'm intimidated, all the stuff. But we get through it. One of the things that Mubashir showed me, so Mubashir, for those of you who know Mubashir was what, 6'8", 6'9"?
Something like that, brother. 6'6".
No, you want, I'm 6'6", that's what I'm saying, 6'8". I want to say 300 plus pounds.
No, you have to go down.
And we developed a very intimate relationship where he shared things with me that I don't think he shared with everybody. I knew he was a black belt, but the most humble brother. So one of my brothers from Richmond, Muslim brother, whom I won't name, no need, the name isn't important, the moral of the story is important. He said, man, what do you think about that brother? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you spend a lot of time with him. He kind of soft, like. I said, brother, I love you. Do not repeat that to nobody else. And he said, what you talking about, man? Like, size don't matter? Like, it don't even matter? I said, listen, bro. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't judge the book by its cover. Let that go. Let that go. And even though we're all Muslims, I don't want you to roar up at him. I don't want you to think you can take him, because it's gonna be you're gonna find out that you're sadly mistaken. But even speaking to that, I tried to call on Mubashir during this class. One of the brothers from overseas, and you know he was from Pakistan, so y'all know that dawli mean everything that's a daw, you know, they say it with a Z. Right. And so, but this is the Tajweed class, and Mubashir is telling the brother, I understand your dialect, I understand the Urdu, but I need you to see if you can pronounce it this way. And so he went on and about what his resume was, and this and this and that, and how dare Mubashir try to correct his Arabic. And he went on. It was very abusive. Brother was mad. Brother was like, man, you know, like, Mubashir, just get a word. And he was the most humble. When you want to talk about being magnanimous, like this brother was just, he was the most beautiful brother that I ever met, because he taught me what to strive for in being a large individual, how to carry yourself, how to understand that you already have the power. It's no need for you to misuse it in a manner that could be displeasing to our Lord. So he said, would you like for me to get you my ijazah? I'm Qari. You can trace it back to the line of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is it that you need to see in order for you to allow me to teach you? And I was like, wow. Like, you could crush this dude, you know? But that was the furthest thing from his mind. And when we had a conversation about it, he talked to me about one of the things that I just heard the Sheikh Omar Suleiman talk about. And he said one of the problems with us is we can go spend thousands of dollars to talk to a total stranger about how to attain peace, about how to overcome our flaws. He said, you know why that is? Because there's no accountability. You don't want to hear your Muslim brother or your Muslim sister admonish you as instructed to in the Holy Quran, because you're going to see me tomorrow. See, this person that I'm giving thousands of dollars, they're not going to see me tomorrow. There's no accountability. I can sit there and be like, and we know, when we go to counseling, the couples out here, you know good and well that you done told your husband something that when this shrink says it, he's acting like it's revelation. And you're like, I tell you that all the time. Same thing with the brothers. You're like, sister, I tell you that all the time. But you can accept it from the stranger, because the stranger ain't waking up next to you in bed the next day. And the stranger is not there with expectations of you to improve and for you to address this character flaw. But we have to stop that. We have to be welcome and open to receiving the admonishment from our brothers and our sisters, because it's the only way that we're going to improve. When I first became Muslim, that N-word, I couldn't get the N-word out of my, I would have been up here saying, yeah, y'all know, you know what I'm saying? Because Prophet Muhammad, you know what I'm saying? And you know, and when I met Abdul Rauf, you know, and I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm substituting all the cuss words and all the N-words, and because this is the normal way that I speak. I told brothers, I said, listen, if I say the N-word, if I say a cuss word, I'll get out and give you 50 push-ups on the spot. Man, I'm talking about be on my way to a visit. Somebody be like, oh, you got your Easter clothes on. I'll be, Nia, shut up. You know what you said. Get out, give me 50, bro, I'm clean. I'm on my way to a visit. I'll get to you when I come back. Bro, that wasn't the agreement. I'll let you go down where your chest don't touch the ground, but I need my 50. I stopped cussing and using that N-word real fast. But it was only because my brothers held me accountable. And I leaned on my brothers. Gosh, dang time. I wanna close by saying this. There's a surah, an ayah in Surah Ali Imran, Surah 3. And I don't know the actual, I know it's towards the end. But it says, let the strutting about of the unbelievers through the land not deceive you. Little is it for enjoyment, their ultimate abode is hell. What an evil bed to lie on. On the other hand, for those who fear their Lord, are gardens with rivers flowing beneath within. This is the ultimate bliss for the righteous. I say that to say, in closing, we often do let the strutting about of the unbelievers through the land deceive us.
That's right.
We let it deceive us. We're captivated. We're captivated by the evil of Shaitan, and we don't understand that we've declared war on him, so he's declared war on us. When we were with him, it was all good. But now that you said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, you did Shaitan like that, and he don't appreciate that. We done had some good times together. And he's taking that as a declaration of war. And he's out to make good on his promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he's going to be waiting on the high, on the low, to the right, to the left for us, to assault us. Brothers, Imam Sheikh Abdul Rauf told us, when we got out here, we wouldn't have the community life that we had in there. The only thing we'll have is women and children. That's the biggest addition that we'll have. And I understand our freedom is important and we signed up for voluntary, involuntary servitude and all that. But he's right. Since I've been home, I haven't made 5 salats in congregation, not one time. For 20 years, I was able to make, well, no, not on level 4, for 10 years straight, 10 years straight, once I got to Salam, I made salat. I was able to make almost every single prayer in congregation with my brothers. That hasn't happened for me not one time since I've been home. But I did that for 10 years straight. Community life. So when I get these orders from Sheikh Abdul Rauf, I show up. You know, y'all can't see my bars and stripes, but I show up and I'm called upon. And so he asked me, and I've been doing this in Juma. And one of the things too I've been doing in Juma is trying to, in Juma, after Juma, I try to pick somebody that I don't know, that I don't really have a close, intimate relationship with. And we go grab some coffee. I don't drink coffee, but it's just for, just building a relationship. And we're trying to encourage people to do that. Pick somebody. If you have the time, you don't have to return to work immediately. Pick somebody that you don't really know. I picked a brother that I thought I knew. Turned out he was from Sierra Leone, telling me the whole struggle of coming from Africa. No, I thought this brother was from Oak Park. This brother's from a whole other country. Didn't even really know a lot about him. In closing, I want to share this dua that Sheikh Abdul Rauf. I haven't learned the Arabic. You just gave it to me, brother. But I'm going to share the English in closing. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. O Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, and I seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. I seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness, and I seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice thou me with what is lawful to me, and keep me away from what is prohibited. And with thy grace, make me free of what is beside me. Ameen.
Alhamdulillah. It's been very, very rewarding experience to hear the presentations of our sisters and brothers in this space. And it mentions so many people who bring a tear to the eye when we talk about them. And some were born, returned to Allah, and some are still here. This is the brother he was talking about. I think he reported that Khabir when he said he translated the Quran after the Quran Bible. I think he completed the other half after they got out. MashaAllah. So
Khabir was one of the fierce brothers too. I was up there in June Blank.
And the brother who vice here, I had to say this, add on to what he said about him. He was a tremendous brother, fantastic brother. And he was an expert in playing the guitar. He had so many skills. You know, he was out of Philadelphia. We shipped his body back to Philadelphia. And I thought we wouldn't be able to do it, but we were able to ship his body back to Philadelphia because in Philly they got graveyards, Muslims, large Muslim communities. So mashallah, this is the book. I'm not saying that he don't need no money. He might need money, but he ain't selling this book because of that. He don't need no money. Get this book. How many did you bring? Huh?
I don't know.
You want to appreciate the knowledge that you in this kind of work, all for your own self. Not to think that if you are working constantly, dealing with people, whether they've been in prison or not, get this book out. Get this book, inshallah. So, alhamdulillah, of course we are, now the band went off, we're going to delay the door. You know, we got the doors between door and Asr, so we got time. But anybody who feels required, we got prayer rugs, you can go in on the back porch out in the yard and you can do it that way. But we're gonna go to our next presentation, and we're gonna make an OG call, right? Because this is part of the program that I hope everybody don't know about. We didn't put it out to everybody, and everybody wasn't supposed to know about it. Those who know, and those who didn't know wasn't supposed to know. And among the people who wasn't supposed to know is that man right there. That man right there, Imam Fahim Suwaid, came to me 50 years ago. When he came to me, I was out somewhere, I think I might have been on my truck, something. I had a catering truck I used to do. And back then, we're in the Nation of Islam, so the language was, we always out fishing for the dead. And the dead were people who were dead to the knowledge of self and kind. That was the verbiage. The short version, fishing for the dead. So that's what we did, and that's what we should still do. But Allah, of course, has that in the Quran, and the Imam mentioned. So invite them with wisdom and beautiful preaching. But when he came to me, he didn't come to me asking to give him something. He came and said, I want to be a Muslim. He already came with a commitment. Right? 50 years ago. And maybe I should tell this other story first. He came to me about 2 months ago. He said, that's what I want you to do, and I want you to don't tell nobody about it. I'm kind of, what is this, you know? And then he had a look in his eye like, don't tell nobody. And I interpreted the look in his eye to me, don't even tell your wife. So I know it was something heavy. Turned out that he had been married for 50 years. A couple of months ago was his marriage day. When he got married, we went to Nation Islam. We don't know nothing about no nikah. We didn't know that. I don't know. We knew the name. We went and got married. How we got married? You know, I remember I took George Penny. Anybody know George Penny? I took him to my house, and my daddy married. He was a preacher. Stuff like that. So we didn't have no. So what it was, his wife had never had a nikah. So he was going to surprise her with a nikah. She knew that was a wedding anniversary, but she had never experienced a nikah. And so I said, and so he said, don't tell him about it. I didn't tell him about it. And he took her to dinner that night. And the grandbabies, daughters, kept the grandbabies, I think. But she didn't know that he was going to have a nikah that night at his house on the had a beautiful back porch right up here, not too far from here. I tell you another thing about the imams. The imams don't get paid in our community.
That's right.
And if they do get paid, this is like a stipend.
Yeah.
That may not be whenever the situation with our community becomes worse or better. But he does have a beautiful backyard. And so he was going to have, his daughter set up the camera, they had the whole thing, and the only person there was his daughters and their husbands, and I think it was one or two non-family who went back to the 50-year time when they were still newlyweds or getting ready to be newlyweds and start to be boyfriend and girlfriend or something. That person was there. There was no more, maybe 15 people there. We got a community of a couple hundred people. They didn't know about it. So, but it was a wonderful thing. So but I didn't understand it all. I mean, I just knew not to tell my wife. I got home, she was there, I didn't stay there. So I didn't got with it. So, turned out, he takes a restaurant, comes in, to the side door, we got the cameras, and Salaam alaikum. Wow, she's in there right now working. Alhamdulillah. So we did a nikah, you know, I don't do no, y'all know I stopped doing marriages in Islam, right? I ain't going all that. I stopped doing it. I think this first marriage I did since then, I wasn't saying no.
Like, what not the first one
That's the first man I married right there. Alhamdulillah. The first man I married.
I was like the third.
Okay, alhamdulillah, he got married, and they still married. And they still married. Was Tasneem here? He was the last one I married. He's still married. Some of them in between, I can't call. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to shorten this. I can't do it too short because the man has been on this commitment for 50 years. So he comes into that community that we call the Nation of Islam. He becomes the assistant to Minister Billy X. He was our minister. Rest in peace, he died. Rob Muhammad, they call him. Allah forgive him his sins and minimize his shortcomings. And then after Minister Billy, he became the assistant to Minister John Fakir. His son is here. He might be, he might not be. John Fakir, who was the first Muslim chaplain paid chaplain in the state of California in 1977, 1978. He was his assistant. And then, after John Fakir moved from the ministry to being the chaplain at the prison in 1977, 78, 77, he was the assistant to Fard Muhammad. Y'all know who Fard Muhammad is? Some say he was Fard Muhammad. Others say he wasn't. But there's something to say he was and something to say he wasn't. Not important because not all about faith in that sense, but it might be a historical footnote. He became his assistant. Father Muhammad was here for 2 years, right over there. And the next Imam was Imam Mustafa Hassan. He was his assistant. And then Mustafa Hassan was here for about a year or so. And then Imam Muhammad said, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Imam Waritheen Muhammad. The one we salute, right? And he became his assistant. And then after him, Imam Muhammad stayed for about a year, and his duty took him to other spaces. Another story to tell about that, how that happened. But he appointed this man. He said, you need a man with a stick. Because we need to chop it up a little bit. And he appointed that man right there, Imam Abu Bakr. He became his assistant. He became Imam Al-Amin's assistant. And then Imam Al-Amin served about a year or so in that particular position. And then we selected him to be the Imam. This is 1982.
Takbir.
So this year is his 40th. He got 50 years married to that woman, but he got 40 years of being married to us in this community. Some of this, you have to have been a leader in our community to figure out how many ups and downs, ins and outs, good days and bad days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the job of building community is not an easy job. It's made up, and the prophet, peace be upon him, told you about the leadership.
Yes.
That people who the leaders be bought and changed first. And how they treated the people determine whether they unchained or they kept being changed.
That's
So,
right.
our brother has carried that.
Yes. Come on. Come on now.
I don't even cry. I cried 2 times in the last 2 weeks. One for our brother Mustafa and this man. So we've never really honored them like it should be honored. And we're not even honored today like it should be honored. But we want to point out to you the kind of work. If you make a commitment to this religion, you got to make a commitment, man.
That's right.
And if ever, you're going to have good days and bad days. But Allah says in the Quran, لَقَدْ لَبِثْتُ فِيكُمْ أُمْرٌ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. He said, I already lived, the prophet said this about his revelation. He told the people, I already lived a lifetime among you before I got the revelation. And then he said, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ? Have to use your intelligence. A man has spent 40 years, he's already proven in you his sincerity. He's been proven in you his qualities. He's not perfect, but I'm saying he got some flaws too.
Right.
But he's been proving to you that he is committed to what we're trying to do. So we want you, so he's an example of us. I'm trying to get to say to us, we got to get with these imams. Find one that you have enough confidence in that you want to make the dedication. What he's trying to do. In Richmond, we got Imam Wabi in Richmond. We got Imam, of course, Imam Al-Amin, I already mentioned him. We got Imam Abdul Malik, who's as the Masjid here. We have Imam Mukhtar, Masjid al-Islam. They need to restore that, the work that they were doing there. But you have to have help. You got to have people who are going to commit themselves to you.
That's right.
As long as you are following the Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad. If you leave that, they're going to leave you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But if you don't have a place that you can say like that right now, brothers, I'm suggesting to you, you should find Oakland, San Francisco, New York, wherever you are. So he's our example, a shining example of that. And we invite you to find one like that. And if you can't find one wherever you're at, we already got one here. I can tell you. Once you use intelligence, he already proven it. He will join us, trying to build this Islamic community here. And we're not telling you this to join. Where's Imam Suli out there? He is right there. Imam Suli out there. He needs people like that. You go there to Juma, because it's easy to get to on the bar. But he needs people to say, what you need, man? Like you used to do me when I come in the gate, the brothers coming to the gate. I used to go on the yard. Most of the chaplains don't go on the yard and watch the basketball game. I go on the yard and watch basketball. I got 5 brothers, 10 brothers. I don't need y'all, but I understood the love. That's what the imams need. That's what this imam needs. That's what that imam. That's what that imam. That's what that imam needs. Someone get Ibrahim Shaheed, there it is right there. He's the leader of our men group. So we ain't gonna be here that much longer. No. That's why he ain't got no grave in there. So we trying to read the signs that are with us right now. We ain't gonna be here that much longer. Let's put some good work in for while we're here. Yes, sir. He's a young man. He's the facilitator of the facilitator. Thank you, brother. Of the ministry. But see, my memory is short. I'm trying to hold it at least 2 hours. Somebody say your name, somebody come and say, yeah, I don't know you. I love you, man, but I can't remember you. I try to floss in the figure, but it's all up. The nigga is all up. So we're going to bring the leader of the men group. Let me say this book. Get this book if you can. I love you, brothers, for accepting our invitation. Young man, good. He's been sitting there the whole time. Young man, we got some, also put some in these buckets too. The dinner was free, but we don't give a stipend to some of these youngsters to help us serve the food and do that. Because we have to cope with it, we have to bring them up. We can't just, So inshallah, if you can do that. We're going to bring Brother Ibrahim, and then we're going to let our imam say what he has. He said what he wants to say.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't really have much to add from what Brother Roach has mentioned, but well, Brother Roach, do we want to bring him up?
How do you want to do it?
This is on behalf of Master Waritheen. This is from the men's group though. So our gift to you is we want to send you on Umrah. 4 nights in Medina Hotel, Rala Tariba. 5 nights in Mecca Hotel, Royal Dar, Ala Iman. 3 nights in Cairo. And this will be guided by Imam Suleiman Ahmed. And also, small token, just something visual for you. We have this for you as well.
Yeah, we love you, brother Imam.
Go ahead.
You guys can't hear you. The microphone.
I can hear you, brother.
Two of them. 2 people. Not just 2 people.
My apologies.
Almost for 2.
That would be for you and your wife as well. And lastly, like I said, a small token, but this is something for you. I'll read it. It says, Bismillah. Imam Fahim Shuaib, for 40 years of world-class leadership and tried commitment to Masjidul Waritheen. May Allah's mercy, guidance, acceptance, protection, and forgiveness be upon you.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Well, I'm known for crying.
Oh, there.
Whoever designed it, you got me.
Go up there.
Bismillah. No longer Bismillah. Yes, there were many moments that I had to hold back tears just in the presentation.
You'll make that.
And because you,
Yeah, that's right.
you're so beautiful.
Alhamdulillah.
Take
your time. Take your time.
Thank you. I'm trying not to. Hold on.
Go ahead. It's okay.
Just this past Eid, I think it was the last Eid that I was here. I just looked at you.
Go ahead. Take your time, brother. No way, bro.
Lord grants it after the tears.
Go ahead.
Take your time, brother, man.
What Allah had done for us, what Allah is doing, has done for us. Such a miracle.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Nothing like it in history. To cap off the
Get your mic.
to cap off the 40-year number, this is exactly what I was doing 40 years ago. I was crying. So, you're beautiful. And I'm gonna say that, I'm not saying that as any kind of entertainer or nothing. I'm saying it as a human being. And truly, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. The bowing down was unavoidable. I had to. There's no way. There's nothing that I could physically do that would at least seem to express what I'm feeling. So that's just a token. I thank Allah just so much. So, it is, Allah knows my heart better than me. And one of the verses that it resonates with me, just the sense of it, where the Quran says, expect no reward for your service. Really, that's very important. You don't expect anything, you don't get disappointed.
No, you don't.
That's right. And There is a sadaqah that I get on a monthly basis from Masjidul. let me edit that piece. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. But everything, all the side things, if I was to say it, it would still come across as a boast. I mean, for some, not for all. Not for all. And God has He's just been so gracious, and so wonderful. But this is out of orbit, right? Now listen, there's the so-called, the secular human, I even call it the genie side. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The genie side is said, okay, so now once Raouf dropped it from the beginning, he said, the main brother we didn't want to know was this brother. I said, oh, it's a setup. When Godfather moves, certain people leaving the room and locking the doors. Man, it's gonna be like that. Tears started coming out, so I recouped a little bit. So then I started calculating. I said, okay. He got because now my head's on a swivel now. I said, who's in on it? So Ibrahim got the thing. Alright, so okay. So they got a plaque. Alhamdulillah. I wasn't saying so they got a plaque. I just said so they got a plaque. So I figured that out. And I said, well, why would they give me a plaque? There ain't no money involved. I know. Because the women of Waritheen, they don't play that no money day. You need man some money. What do you need to excuse? Give it to me. I'll take it. I know it's not 100% on that, but it happens. And then okay, so there's gonna be some money involved. So inshallah, and then y'all come with this? Come on. Man. Did you know about this? You didn't know about that? Nothing. Okay, I guess Raouf did a reverse on us. Don't tell him and don't tell her. All right. Well, alhamdulillah. And then it's under the aegis of generations from here. Imam Suleiman Hamid and Hajj Pros, mashallah. So, alhamdulillah. So it's inexplicable. It's overwhelming. I'm grateful. Just completely. I mean, Allah. Sometimes you think you don't need something. Yeah. Then Allah already knows. You don't think you need this. But I know. Allah, I know you need this. You don't ask for it. And I give without you asking. Imam Al-Amin keeps buzzing through my head right now. Because I feel right to acknowledge him. He has been a major pillar in the Bay Area Muslim community, for sure. He has a national footprint too, but I'm saying we're talking Bay Area.
Yes.
sir.
International footprint, and coming back to that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
They got a lot. China, Africa.
Next.
So, I mean, he took some trip to Africa. I had to hide my jealousy. It's like, so, we rode from the gate of San Quentin together when he was released, me, him, Imam John Fakir. When you talk about sincerity, consistency, and undying presence, Imam Amin has been that. For the Bay, in the Bay. And I do want to raise up, there are 2 projects. The Vallejo project right now, you can learn more about him, from him on that.
Yes, sir.
And then of course the San Francisco Muslim Community Center. Imam Amin is a go-getter.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
He's a go-getter. And he's a connector. And very, very important. We want to see the projects that he's committed to in these buildings, because they can be such a jewel on the necklace of on the neck of our community. Beautiful possibilities, rich institutional things that we need to do to have ummah. Is in the kernel of, especially the Vallejo project. I mean, San Francisco, we have to have the masjid community there. But I'm kind of resonating in this large sense as to what can be done in the many things that we need to do to have ummah. They can be done right there. They can be a jewel for us. We take pride in so many things that are at a distance from us. North Carolina is doing some things, obviously Atlanta is doing some things, Philadelphia is doing some things, and everybody in that area, like Philadelphia, you talk about the Delaware Valley, when you talk about that. But when something big and important is being done in the area, everybody gets to shine. Everybody gets to shine. So that is something that is a possibility for us. And I want to raise it up because I know how happy we all would be and how much of an engine it will be for our ummah building life. So listen, the same Lord that moved me to tears is the same Lord that moved me to say what I'm saying. Now, everybody, you see, this is the thing about us. I have to acknowledge it because I'm prone to philosophy, psychology. I'm prone to that, right? So that means, I know everybody, and it's a natural thing. Everybody, why he's saying that now? Why, who? Okay, well, you keep working with that. I'm saying it because my good spirit to God and the acknowledgement and recognition of excellence is something that we are obligated to do.
Yes.
Listen, in order to do the things that we need to do, it takes all of us and those who are not in the room.
Yes, sir.
Trust this. So I'm saying, be committed to the realization of anything good for us. Because the world at large, as dominated by the shaitan is against everything that we stand for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we don't stand for ourselves, and the whole world is standing against us, then you're crazy. That's just the light way of putting it. So I'm about to be gone. Somebody said, well, I wish we could go back to crying. but with Sheikh is, y'all know how special Sheikh is.
Yes.
Totally. There's no way for this community, and I would dare say the Bay Area Muslim community to be the way that it is without Sheikh Abdul Rahul. I love him. I love him. He's steadfast. He's the stabilizer part of this whole community. Check out the road out of the Bay Area community. See what you got.
Right.
I love you. I thank you. May Allah grant His forgiveness and guidance and protection. Amen.
We're going to wind down. What we want to do, we have some young brothers that are going to help us. We're going to break these chairs down. We're going to put them where they go. To me, I need you to orchestrate and we want those of you who come here to join the men's group. We have a men's group. We meet every 2 weeks on the phone, and we try to map out and stand and scheme up stuff that might be beneficial to us. We trying to catch up with the sisters. That's what we did. This is the men's group trying to do. Sisters already had it. You heard what he said, huh? So we're in the race with them. We're not stopping to say right. Competing and all that's good. Inshallah. We want to do that, and then we want to take a group picture on those steps across the street. So we want to break this down. Hold on, we want to hear it. Everybody listen to the so we can be feel like we did it properly. All we done. الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You all need to understand, if you don't already, there is no me without her. You know that. Just like there's no Malcolm without Elijah Muhammad, there's no Imam Fahim Shuaib without Yolanda Mahassan Shuaib. Allah, you know, the closeness of us, I recognize that sometimes she goes without mentioning. But yes, and many of you do know this, some appreciate it, and maybe some resent it, I don't know. But my administration is she's a part of my administration, right? And the leadership that she provides, the administrative issues that she addresses, I hear her addressing them and I say, okay, well, she's handling that, and we don't even have to talk about it, right? So I'm just saying, all of my children, you know, living children, we're here today, and that was a good feeling already. And we're proud of all of them, alhamdulillah. So I wanted, in your most sacred consciousness, after sujood and after worshiping Allah, that spirit of taqwa, I wanted that to be on you as I acknowledge the great work and the blessing that she is to us and to our community.
Allahu Akbar.
cars coming. All right.
Get the picture. Get the picture. You get in the picture. JB. Is your son here?
Is he coming out now? Here he comes. I should have known. Green light. I got to move this in.